Hello and welcome to this video for the Australian Christmas Cricut Papercrafting event. My name is Sarah Edwards. I'm a Cricut contributing artist under the name Craft with Sarah, and I'm here today to show you how to make this super cute shaped greetings card with a little Christmas koala. There's loads of dimension in this card with all the layers of cardstock, and when you open it up, there's a matching little koala inside, along with a message panel for you to write your greetings on. I've also included in the project an envelope file. So the card is 5 by 7 inches, so you might already have some pre-made ones, but just in case you don't and you need an envelope to match, then I'll show you how to do that in this video as well. Now, you might have noticed from my accent, I am not Australian. However, I absolutely love paper crafting, so I was really excited to be asked to contribute a project for this event, and I hope that you enjoy making it as much as I enjoyed creating it. Let's take a little look in Design Space and see what the project looks like. You can find the link to the project in the description of this video. Let's get started. This is what the project looks like when it's loaded into Cricut Design Space. You can see the main card over here. We've got the details for the inside of the card and also the envelope. If you don't want to make a custom envelope, you can simply click it and then hide it by hovering over it in the Layers panel and clicking the eye icon to hide it from view. Or, instead of hiding it, you can click it and press the trash can icon at the top to delete it from the project. The same goes for the inside of the card if you don't want to add that, but I do recommend putting it in there, because not only does it make the card really cute when it's opened up to find another koala inside, but it also helps to give the back of the card some extra weight. This card is a little bit front heavy, there's lots of pieces to go on the front, so if you didn't have anything on the inside, you might find it doesn't stand up quite as reliably. But by putting the koala on the inside, you're giving the back that extra weight so it will stand up perfect. There are a couple of score lines on this project. The first is down the card so you know exactly where to fold it in half, and the second is on the envelope. If you don't have a Cricut scoring tool, then you might want to delete the score lines or change them to a pen tool so that instead your Cricut will draw out where the score lines can go, and then you can manually score them yourself. To do that, I'm going to click onto the envelope first, click the little arrow to open it up, and then look down until you see a layer that says score. Then you can either hide it if you don't want to do the scoring, or you can click it and change it under operation to a pen line, and then your Cricut will draw that line instead of scoring it. However, I'm going to do mine as a score line. And then the other one is on the main card front here. So open up the group that says base card, and within there, there's a score line. You can do the same on that if you want to. Either hide it, delete it, or change it to a pen line. But that's all you need to change. So once you've got that sorted, if you're going to do it, then press Make over on the top right. This will separate out all the colours for you. You can change the paper size in the drop down here, and then you can drag and drop to move things about to use up less space on your card. Just make sure when you're doing that nothing overlaps, otherwise it won't cut out properly. If you want to change the paper size, you'll need to do it for each colour individually. One thing I just want to show is the envelope pieces. So by default, Design Space puts it onto 2 sheets of 12 by 12, but you can actually fit it onto 1 if you want to. To do that, click onto the second sheet, drag a box so that it touches both of the bits of the envelope on this piece, click the 3 little dots and then Move Object. Choose the other one of the same colour and press Confirm. Now it will move these bits onto this sheet. And then, with a little bit of trial and error and rotating round, we can get this all to fit on one 12 by 12 sheet instead of needing 2. When you're happy with how all of your sheets are looking, press Continue to connect to your Cricut, get everything cut out from Cardstock, and then I'll show you how to put together the Santa Koala card. Before we jump into making the card, I just want to show you a little trick for taking your card off of your Cricut mat so that it doesn't roll up or bend as you take it off. So here is my envelope that I've cut out. I've used a card that's white on the outer side, which would be the side that I write the address on, and then it's got a pattern on the other side so that when the envelope is opened, it'll be nice and pretty inside. So rather than peeling this straight up off the mat like this, which can cause the paper to tear, I'm going to turn my mat upside down and then gently pull it back towards me and pull off my paper with my other hand. Hold the paper or the cardstock flat against your work surface and gently pull the mat away. That way all of the bend goes into the mat and not your cardstock, so your cardstock will end up lovely and flat. Make sure you don't actually fold your mat when you do this, otherwise it might snap. It's just a gentle bend to pull it away. I'm using my hand to keep everything else nice and flat. I had wanted a Christmas patterned paper for the other side of my envelope, but didn't have any, so I've gone for this instead. I've got one bit left to hold it flat and pull back. And now, if I get all these pieces of the envelope together, here we go. You can see that these are sitting perfectly flat on my work surface. There's no bend or wrinkle or rolling going on, just perfect cardstock all ready to be stuck together. Here are all the pieces of my adorable little Christmas koala all cut out, and I've laid all the bits on top of each other to make sure that I'm happy with all the colours and that I haven't missed any little pieces along the way. You can see the order it all goes in either by following this video, or you can go to Design Space, hide all the layers in the project by hovering over them in the layers panel and clicking the little eye, and then turn each layer on one at a time starting at the bottom, and that will allow you to see which pieces go on in which order. I've already glued together the koala that will go on the inside of my card because it's exactly the same process as making the one for the front. The only difference is I'm going to add some foam squares to the one on the front to give it some dimension, whereas the one on the inside needs all the pieces just gluing together, otherwise it'll end up too thick to go in the card. There's already quite a few pieces of cardstock in there, so he's still got a lovely little bit of dimension, even though all these pieces are glued. Okay, so first I'm going to fold my card in half, the score line down the middle, so I can fold along there, and the score line goes up into the hand area as well as the main gift. And then once that's folded, go down it with either a brayer tool or a scraper tool, if you've got one, to make sure it's a really crisp fold. I've got my brayer. It's going to go down both sides to help that fold. And this is going to be the main shape of the card. Now you'll notice that one of these hands is cut off. That's okay because it's going to get covered up when we add the layered koala on top. So let's build him. Look how cute he is. I've used a glitter card for my 2 shades of yellow, which I think is giving a nice little bit of festive sparkle. We want to start at the bottom and then work our way upwards for sticking it together. So I'm going to move these pieces apart whilst trying not to completely take everything out of order, because I've already gone to the effort of putting it all together. And then for this, we'll be sticking it together with a combination of glue and foam squares or foam pads. Ideally, your foam squares will be quite small because we've got some small areas for it to go in, but if yours are bigger, you can cut them smaller with some scissors. However, for this first one, I've got my red to go onto the black. This one will be glued. First piece done. Next, you can sort of choose if you want to do the koala or the present at the bottom. They're separate builds, so it doesn't really matter which way round you want to do it. I think I'll do the koala first. So we've got his ears, which comes in 2 pieces, starting with the lighter colour. And this one Just having a think. You could probably glue it or use your foam squares for this one. I'm going to use my foam squares. Love having lots of dimension on my card. I'm going to add a good amount of these to the back of this piece of card. And as well as adding some around the edge, you also want to make sure there's some bits of foam in the middle, because that will give it stability and make sure that your card doesn't dome downwards in the middle where it doesn't have anything to support it. And now I'm peeling the tops off of these foam squares to reveal the stickiness underneath. Then line it up with the red and gently drop down. And the reason for gently dropping is that if you weren't quite happy with the position of that, you could pick it up and move it because it hasn't actually stuck yet. But I think that looks good, so I'll push down to seal. Next up, we've got the outline of the ears. This one will be glued. The next piece is the white, which makes up the scarf or the kind of ruff fluff around the neck, and also the whites of the eyes. And this is another foam square layer. Try and get a little bit of foam inside that hat bobble if you can. And then once again, line it up and then gently drop down. And then when you're happy with the positioning, push down to get it nice and stuck. We've got a few glue layers now. Next is this black piece. This is making up the blacks in the eyes. So you've got two little holes in here to show the whites of the eyes through. It's much easier doing it this way than trying to stick on teeny tiny little circles. Lines up there. And then we've got the grey on top. And you'll see when this one's put on how it sort of brings the eyes to life. There. And next is the red part of the hat, which will also be glued. Next up, we've got the bobble. And I'll do this with foam squares. Get it to pop out nicely against the red. There. And then we've also got the fluff to go along at the top, which again, put some foam squares on. If your foam squares don't fit, cut them smaller with scissors. You don't want any of that foam to be poking out over the sides, otherwise you'll see it. And we want it to be all nice and hidden. You can also do the bits of fluff on his arms. These pieces are slightly different. You can refer back to the screen in Design Space to see which one is for the left and which one is for the right. But the left one is a little bit sort of shorter and taller than the one on the right. So that's the shorter, taller one. And then the other one's a little bit longer and a bit less tall, shorter. No, it's longer that way, shorter height-wise. I really struggled to describe that then. Okay, there's that one. All right, so next we've got this black piece. I'm going to glue it. This is going to make up his nose. And it's a little bit thinner on one end than the other. The thinner end points downwards towards the neck area. Then I'll line this up between the eyes so that it's just above the top of the eye line and sits nicely in the middle. And then the bit with the little nostrils goes on top. There we go. And then the last little bit, the smallest piece of all, is a little bit of fluff to go on his chin. It also kind of makes him look like he's smiling. Tiny bit of glue. And then this will go under that nose. Like that. And that is all the bits of the koala done. So next we can move on to building up the gift box. The first piece of the gift box is the solid big rectangle. which will go along here, and this one is going to be done with foam squares. This one is the most important bit, to make sure that you put your foam squares in the middle as well as around the edge, because it's quite a large piece of card. When you're lining this up, make sure it doesn't go over the bottom of the card, otherwise your card might not be able to stand up properly. I'm going to put it on, gently drop it down, and make sure that's lined up nicely, which that is, so then I can push to seal. Next up, we've got the pattern on the front, which will be glued. This goes right on top of that lighter green. Be careful not to push too hard, because you don't want the glue to smush out any of these thin bits. Alright, the end is in sight. Next, we've got this big bit of the ribbon, and you can either glue this one or use your foam squares. I'm going to use my foam. I really like a dimensional card. You can see where to line this up because the outlines of it are on the gift that's already there. Like that. Next is the piece of ribbon in the other colour, and this one will be glued. Next up is the largest piece of the bow you've got left. This one is a foam square layer. It's going to go right on top, like that. Then the lighter piece glued on. The pointy bits go at the top, like that. And there's one more bit, a little dab of glue in the middle, and stick the oval on top. Ah, look how cute he is. There's a koala all done. And now, if you haven't already, glue together all the pieces of the other koala. And then we've also got these bits that are going to go inside the cards so we know where to write the message. And this will also be glued. It goes right in the middle. Try and get a nice even border of that gold all around the edge. All right, time to put the card together. Let's start with the front, and I'm going to add the glue to the card rather than the back of the koala because I don't want to risk adding any glue to the bit that's going to be poking out over the edge. There's quite a lot of weight to go on this card, so I'll make sure I've got a nice amount of glue on here so that it's definitely going to hold. And I've just realised my mistake. I make mistakes so you don't have to, which is that some of this green actually is going to be on display because it's making up the back of the box. So actually, it would be better to ignore what I just said and put your glue on the back of this piece. Just don't put any in this hand, then you should be okay. So I'll glue this one instead. Oh dear. Still, I realised so that I could fix it in good time before that glue dried. Okay, so now this will line up. Make sure it doesn't go over the bottom. So we need that card to stand up. Don't think you can tell I made that mistake. So you've just got the smallest bit of haven't done that very well. You've got the smallest bit of green that shows here and here to make up the back of the box. But it's fine. We got around it. You can't tell that it's got glue on it. And then it opens up beautifully there. Okay, so now I'm going to add Mr. Koala on the inside. And I've realised another mistake. which is the card won't fold now because I just need to crop off that tiny bit of his hand. And I'll do this in the Design Space project so that you won't have to do this little fix. Okay, so just need a straight line down that hand so it will go up to the score line. There we go. So your one, when you make it, will have a little cut hand and then it can be glued. This is sort of why I like doing videos, because it means I've tested everything on the video, and if anything comes up that needs modifying before you get to make it, I can make those changes. Lovely. And then my message panel will go underneath. There. And that is my super cute koala card all finished. So not only does he look lovely from the front, but it's so cute inside too. And that will stand up beautifully. So now we've made the card, let's move on to a matching envelope. Here are the pieces of my envelope. My card is white on the side I want to go on the outside, and then there's a pattern on the inside. So first we've got these score lines along here. If you erased the score lines because you didn't have a scoring tool, then just go down from each of these points, here, 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 and here, and score them manually so that it's easier to fold everything else. I'll turn this upside down and then fold in along all of those score lines. Then I'm going to go down with my brayer tool to make sure they're all really well folded. Now separate out the four sides. You've got the two smaller pieces and then the two larger pieces, and these correspond to the shorter and larger sides on here. So turn this back over, and you can glue this bit, but I prefer to use double-sided tape. I find it a little bit easier. I'm going to go down all these score lines, all the tabs up to the score line. Don't go any further than that score line. If you were going to be sending this in the mail or the post rather than giving it by hand, then glue would probably be better as it's a little bit more sturdy. But if you're giving it to someone in person, the double-sided tape works great. And line up each of the sides along their corresponding score line. I've got little bits of glue all over my fingers from where I made that mistake on the back of the card. So if you see any little bits of dirt, that's what it is. I need to go wash my hands. So even really crafting if you don't end up in a mess. Okay, that's all put together. Now we need to stick it together. So the two sides are going to come in, the shorter sides, and then this bit will go over the top. And I'm going to add my tape down these lines, just the bottom half. If any tape goes over the edge, make sure you fold it back on itself, because if there's tape over the edge, it might stick your card to the inside of the envelope, which we do not want. Okay. And then put that up. And I just love having that little pop of colour when the envelope's opened. And here's my card all inside the envelope. I find it easiest to put it in with the kind of flat side facing up. If you do it the other way, then it can catch all of those layered bits on the edge and be a bit difficult to put in, whereas this way it slides in a lot smoother. If your foam squares were quite thick, then you might need to just give it a little bit of a wiggle to get it in there, but it will fit in there just fine. And then when you're ready to send your card, you can just fold the flap over the top and seal it with either some more double-sided tape or some glue, or even a wax seal or something on the front. And then you've got your lovely handmade envelope to go with your handmade card. I'll pull him out. So cute. So I hope you've enjoyed crafting along with me to make this koala bear greetings card for the Australian Christmas paper crafting event. The link to the project is in the description of this video, and if you want even more paper crafting projects, check out my Design Space profile. It's called Craft with Sarah. I'll also drop the link to that in the description of this video. I hope you have a wonderful time at the rest of the Australian Christmas paper crafting event, but for now, thank you so much for watching. Bye!